Galactic family, welcome back to my channel, Indigo Angel. Welcome if you are new, and welcome if you are returning. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell and like the video as you come on in. And just thank you so much. Thank you again for your love and support. If you've been vibing with me all this time and you enjoy my messages, just know that I really appreciate those of you who have been rolling with me all the way back till about 3 years ago. It's been about 3 years that I've been on Facebook as Indigo Angel and been on YouTube as Indigo Angel, which is a name that came to me as I embodied my indigo self, my ascended self, as I embodied my entirety of my soul. And at that time, I chose to merge my spirituality with the integration of my foundation. And so that was about 3 years ago that I basically stepped into the presence and the embodiment of Indigo Angel. My real name is Amanda Jane DeMarco, but I also go by Indy. You can call me Amanda if you would like to, if you don't feel comfortable with calling me Indigo Angel. I also go by Ashada, as this is an even higher name that I feel has came forth to me and through me through the purity of the High Lyran Council. It's a representation of the Pleiadian goddess, and it's also the goddess of the cosmos and Yahweh's wife, Ashera. So there's a lot of symbology as to, you know, the spelling and the vibrational harmonics of the electrotonal expression of that language, of that name. And so I'm all of them. I'm all three in one. I'm all identities. And sometimes I'm none of those identities. Sometimes I don't even resonate with any of those identities, as I simply don't feel that I hold identity. Sometimes I even disassociate from my identity a lot, and that's pretty normal and typical for an empath, for an indigo, as there's so much convergence of archetypes and energy signatures as source self, that you constantly are going through a rebirthing and a reclamation of your identity, because the ascension process ultimately is expanding in consciousness to embody more dormant portions of your identity. And so that's why a lot of times you'll see people within as gurus or within the ascension teachers, celestial teachers, all of these things, that they'll often change their names, change their identities. It's a normal part of the process ultimately. But I just wanted you to know. So it can be kind of confusing. I know some people will ask me, oh, what should I call you? You know, whatever name you resonate with calling me, I mean, I ultimately respond to, just as long as it's delivered with love, care, and respect, of course. I'm at one of my favorite places. This is Lake McConaughey in Nebraska. I've come here about every single summer for the last 7 years. And so if you go through my video history past up until about the last 3 years, you can see a lot of the dynamic creations that I have evolved through my spirit, my consciousness, through making a lot of things here. And so it's one of my favorite places. It's a very sacred place. There's a lot of high Syrian plasma currents here that are over the water formation here at this place, because it is so island-like within such a landlocked area, that it does transmit a lot of these higher vortexual first and second density codes, and it merges with the mother arcs. It merges here with the Andromeda corridors and the Aquiferian corridors. So it's you can even see above me there's light rays coming through, and it's charging my energetic field, my bioenergetic field. It's a constant state of regeneration, bioregeneration, and just reclamation of your own molecules from the deepest level of that healing, because it is such a higher vibrational Syrian current that I usually pick up on here, simply just because of the time of year that I come here. So it's really amazing. Wanted to share it with you guys. I hope you can feel the energy coming through. But that's not ultimately what I wanted to talk with you guys today, as I do feel it's kind of necessary to address the most recent video that I did put out regarding the Twin Flame Deprogramming video. because the feedback has been positive and the feedback has been negative. But ultimately, all feedback is transformative in many ways. And so I just, ultimately first, let me prepare myself real quick. So I'm just going to take a drink real quick for the haters. Right? Let me clear my throat. And I only say haters because I mean individuals who attack character based upon differences of perceptions. I mean, we have got to get over this as a collective and start seeing things as art. Instead of judging art, regardless of how you self-identify in that expression of that art, right? Because everything that you project out, whether it's through the sting of Shala, or it comes through the horn of oppression, right? If you're projecting in those states of perceptions through this reverberation of retaliation, that's that stinger, that's that Shala mentality. Or the Karens, they're called, the horns of oppression. It's ultimately coming through this deep-seated hate, through this unconscious patriarchal standard, whether you're divine feminine or you're divine masculine. This is a lot of times how this hatred is expressed. Or it's someone trying to manipulate and guilt trip another person into believing that they're wrong for creating space for new beliefs, new mentalities, new structures, new programs, right? Because it's all about ultimately coming here to manipulate energy. And that's what Dolores Cannon has said this entire time. It's about learning to manipulate energy. And if you look at Elon Musk, he was a programmer. Even though he's a computer programmer, he was a programmer by the age of 14. Okay, a millionaire by the age of 27, because he learned how to program. So it's this whole cultivation process of surrendering to your defeat, your reclamation of your sovereignty, your reclamation of your freedom, your regeneration of your ability to accept your noble desires, that you are worthy of these things. So when you come into this state, you no longer want to hate on other people's forms of art and expression. If you're guilt tripping someone else into believing that they're wrong for having a belief that doesn't fit the social norm, okay, then you're being a hater. And we have to remember, it's not up to anyone to decide if someone is right or wrong for their perceptions. We all have to understand that it is okay to disagree and not shun another person's soul into darkness and pain and shame because they don't share the same beliefs. And I honestly feel like this is collectively and globally, because of the state of the world, because of the civil unrest, that these codes of recognition are coming up through fire of transformation for everybody to realize that we have got to listen to differences. We have got to acknowledge differences. Leadership in general, presidential, national, global, has got to start acknowledging the differences, accepting differences, speaking to differences, and bringing back into unification, bringing everybody back into the idealism that we are one collective mind working ultimately for the same sources, for the planet of the earth. And when we can open up these conversations, it immediately removes the blockages, because it's like, okay, I can still vibrate harmoniously while seeing through the distortions of polarity of compartmentalizations and differentiation factors, right? It does allow you to see the multi-universes that exist here, because every single person is a universe, and every single person has a collective set of commandments, but then also has an individuation of commandments and moral belief structures inside themselves. And so when you can see the multi-universes that are existing cohesively within a third dimensional realization of reality that exists here on this planet, good, bad, ugly, and even evil, unfortunately, right? In these evil multi-universes. But ultimately, it's true. These things do exist here. And regardless of how we feel about it, I mean, because there's so much evil that's coming up right now. And this is one thing that I've been doing, is invoking the prime creator of the cosmic mother, of the devotion of Kali, the devotion of the Devi Durga. I've been invoking this because I feel ultimately, as this Syrian energy comes through, which is being hijacked right now through Moscow, Russia, Stargate Signet, through the Aquila grid, through the double-headed eagle Aquila grid, being siphoned. It's siphoning the Syrian energy. It's siphoning this. That is the location it's being siphoned. This Kali energy is coming through to cleanse this siphoning of the Divine Mother. And it's destroying evil. It's destroying evil that attacks the innocent. And so there are these collective atomic forces that are going against the negative alien agendas, that are pushing through AI, artificial intelligence, the normalization of pedophilia, human trafficking, vampirism, cannibalism, satanic rituals. So there is going to be an uprising of individuals who are highly working through these distortions that will start to mutate inorganically to adopt these belief structures. So because of the pushing of this normalization of these things that do ultimately go against the organic human's innate response to protect the innocent, we will see this surfacing of these really powerful, rich destruction goddesses, because they will destroy evil that harms the innocent in order to create new. And so that is what I'm seeing ultimately planetarily. So I'm just giving you kind of a collective global update in terms of the archetypal influential things that I am seeing, and give you my perspective here. But ultimately, regardless of what that is, good, bad, or ugly, evil, right? We have to begin to start seeing through the eyes and hearts and minds and the biofields of all spinning Merkabas here, guiding collective manifest destiny. As hard as that can be sometimes, as hard as these other really detrimental things can be, in terms of breaking down our moral gauges, right? Our moral compasses. It's almost like the moral compass specifically is being attacked collectively. And this is what's ultimately being stopped. There are forces coming to light that are trying to stop this darkness of humanity up underneath the rug. Stop sweeping it up underneath the rug and stop acting like it just simply doesn't exist. Nobody right now is allowed to act like it doesn't exist. We cannot no longer simply ignore it, like it ceases to exist. This stuff is smacking everybody in the face. It is okay to open yourself up to new ideas. Not saying those ideas I was just talking about, but it is okay to open yourself up to new ideas within the Twin Flame Union. That's ultimately what I wanted to talk about. Because it is a capacity to do this, to open yourself up to new ideas. It's a form of higher consciousness to resist attack, ultimately, because the knowledge of all things, right or wrong, is what expands your consciousness. And so it is a practice of maintaining your organic human state to perceive all perceptions, good, bad, and ugly, but ultimately stand your ground and stand firm, but to not be absorbed into the rhetoric of hatred. That is ultimately what expands your consciousness, is to hold still like Mahatma, is to hold still like the yogi, is to hold still like the guru, to hold still like the master. Because the knowledge of all things, right or wrong, is what expands your consciousness. The triggering also, so if you're triggered by things, triggered by the concepts of the Twin Flame Deprogramming, triggered by other things of the world, then it's ultimately an opportunity to master yourself. And so the master will recognize this, that it exposes your morals and your soul commandments on the brink of war within yourself. And this is ultimately what will transform the world. So all resistance that you feel to something does indicate where inside you ultimately need to work, where you ultimately need to heal yourself. That if you're aligned to your soul mission, if you're aligned to your soul purpose, if you fully disdain any idea, this should ultimately prompt you to activism of some kind for revolution. Feel that come through, okay? That in itself lets you know that you are alive, okay? The will to live is the will to die for believing, for fighting for what you believe in, okay? This also applies to unworldly concepts, right? Anchoring in from these super colossal scales of secret societies that just seem extreme. This is extremism. And unfortunately, new extremes eventually become the new norms of tomorrow. Breaking the blood-brain barrier is ultimately where battle occurs. Okay, so I am speaking encoded in this for those of you who can understand those codes. Namaste. Unfortunately, the pressures of society right now are being plagued with extremes that seem overwhelmingly unrash to accept. The crossed spears seem to be ripping through the fabrics of space-time as we speak. Now, for those of you that do not like the way I express my spirituality through my sensuality, well, I'm sorry. Get over it, okay? Get over it! Feminines! We can be sensual and still be sacred. We can be sensual through our rituals. We can be sensual through our prayers and even our acts with God. In fact, this is how the entire system was designed in the first place. Was through our sacred sexuality, was through our sensuality, and through the expression of this. So we're actually supposed to be this way as divine design. This is allowed and is highly activating within your design to achieve sovereignty and freedom. You cannot raise up in the highest vibration without raising your kundalini, okay? Which I want to say, if my dancing triggers you, then you probably need it in your own life more than ever. And I will not limit my potential of artistic creation and healing because someone does not like the way they see themselves in it. Because to a woman, the freedom of flow of your own movements is actually what takes you into a higher vibrational alignment. You want to get downloaded? Then let go of yourself in your movements. Allow yourself to move your body. Divine masculines, you should do this too. Liberate your body with flow. Like I said, you want to get downloaded? Then let your mind go, like in the movement of the way that you flow with the cohesiveness of the planet. Get over your own judgments, get over yourself and dance, and gift it to others so that they can free themselves of judgment too. So I will continue to put out my artistic creations in all of the ways that I like to express myself. Being free of movement and being free of my own self-judgment, just so you know. So namaste, I love you. And for those of you who can get on board with my multidimensionality, when I shift from being a sensual goddess who wants to create artistically and express my devotion, my freedom, my deprogramming, my programming, my liberation in whatever way that I feel I want to design myself as a galactic being, as a sovereign being, as a whole ascended being, then I'm gonna keep doing that because it makes me feel great. And I'm also going to keep anchoring in this higher intellectual cosmic expression because I have to maneuver through it. I cannot just sit inside and do the same limiting videos over and over and over again. I have to expand myself. I have to keep shifting and navigating through my expression. And it takes all kinds of different forms. And I know many of you understand multidimensionality and really get what I'm saying here. So thank you so much for hanging in there. Now, many Divine Feminines have reached out feeling a high resonance with that Twin Flame Deprogramming video that I did. And a lot of them have asked me how to deprogram themselves. Which I will cover this on my Patreon by the end of the month. So Patrons, please sit tight for this, as it will be coming soon. But, and you can find that on patreon.com/indigoangel if you would like to join my Patreon. I have been seeming to put more videos out towards the end of the month, is when I kind of hit with a few videos. So if you've just joined, I've had a lot of new people recently join my Patreon, so thank you so much. Namaste. I really appreciate that love and support. Patrons, you guys are the world. I'm not kidding you, I end up becoming best friends with my Patrons. I end up visiting my Patrons. I end up doing the most global healing work with my Patrons. You guys are the ones that make this possible for me. So I just want you guys to really, really know I really appreciate you. Like, I never had any idea that starting a Patreon would open me up in this way. So it's made really finding my soul family possible. So I just want to say really thank you so much. And stay tuned, because I will be doing a Twin Flame Deprogramming that I can share with everyone, giving everybody tips and techniques and just what's worked for me and why I did it. And that's ultimately what I'm going to talk about today in this video. Because I had some Divine Feminines reaching out to tell me that I'm wrong. Literally tell me I'm wrong and tell me that I should leave this to the Twin Flame professionals. Trying to tell me that I should change my beliefs. I've had people come at me for that. I've had people come at me for telling me that I need to also change my political views, my social views, my national views. And well, that's fine. You all feel this way. But let me at least explain to you why you should at least consider a Twin Flame Deprogramming, okay? I want to really, really break this down. Break down why I've avoided, honestly, bringing this onto my channel. And I want to explain these distortions within the twin community, within the twin experience, ultimately, because this is, what I see it as, is ultimately is a process of evolution with your own Trinity union within, okay? Now, the healthiest place you can ever be in this life to call in the highest divine sacred union is the embodiment of the Trinity Flame. Okay, we don't talk about the Trinity Flame as sacred sensuality. We don't talk about the Trinity Flame as the highest union. The twin experience is collectively seen as the highest union. But what I have been shown through my evolution of my own consciousness and through a lot of galactic intelligence that has come forth to show me these concepts, they have shown me that the healthiest place you can ever be in this life to call in the highest divine sacred union is the embodiment of the Trinity Flame. Okay, this is two trinities that come together to achieve the creation of the 3-6-9 union. And let me explain this, okay? So when you were born, and I'm sorry if I keep looking off to the left, it's just that my video camera is on the left side, so I do keep looking off to the left a little bit. Let me get a drink here. So, when you were born, you were a Trinity Flame, okay? This was the highest light and experience of wholeness and love, not yet separated from Source. This was the cord attached to the eternal flame of the highest divinity. Now, as separation occurs throughout one's life, separation from the mother, separation from the father, separation from Source, it's a continuous falling through density, okay? This is, as Manifest Destiny prompts you through soul contracts and chosen designs to separate you from Source, from the same soul collectives of harmonic resonance and convergences that you originally came from the eternal flame, okay? There is a primal desire through densities 1 and 2, through free will and through primal life currents, to reattain this state of bliss at the time of birth. An unconscious yearning and seeking of devotion and passion This seeking is then attained through unions, because it is the reflective or the opposition viewpoint through the separation from original source that it will be reattained through unions, okay? The fall from separation usually is at one's lowest point of this separation. So when one is at the fall from this separation, at the lowest point of this experience of separation, this is where one then calls in the twin flame experience, okay? This is when one has blown out the other two flames of their own etheric identity of the Trinity and is on the verge of completely turning into black smoke. This is why the fanning of the smoke of the twin union with a white feather cuts this cord here. If you are ready to, of course, if you are ready to deprogram yourself from this twin flame union, okay? And when you do this, if you intentfully do this deprogramming, you will ultimately restructure yourself from the monad, okay? It is a complete reconfiguration from the monad. You have to be ready for that, because ultimately you will deflect all twin flame unions from that point forward. That is the point of the deprogramming, because you are on the process of embodying the Trinity flame, the re in totality of your total completion within. Okay? This is a good thing. This is a good thing, because you are ultimately deflecting away those unions that keep you limited in your human limitations. Okay? And I'm going to explain that more. Okay, because you might not fully agree with what I'm saying up until this point. That's fine, yada, yada, yada. But ultimately, this is the place where all twins tune into the calling of their contract, is at this single flame place. When they're at the deepest suffering, the deepest separation, they will call in their twin to enter into divine union. When they are ignited through the spark of the eternal flame, the twin flame that brings them back into a higher vibrational state of eternal divine passion of love. Okay, so through the igniting of the second flame and the rebalance of their own second through fourth density polarity, okay, this is here and where lies the distortion, is people believe that the twin came to them and that they separated from them, but in truth, they never separated from them. They already existed inside of you at the time of birth, at the time of your Trinity, okay? Hence the psychic and telepathic fated meeting, okay? When your flame, your total flame is about to burn out, okay? When you are about to be liquid smoke. Through this process of separation from source, you just simply lost the spark until you were ready to reignite the contract of achieving the Trinity flame. This is designed as manifest destiny to awaken you in this life. The twin flame contract is what rebirths you and embodies your soul, okay? Like the moment that the Band-Aid gets ripped off and the feeling of fresh air and awareness grips the skin. This is why you typically and will only have one twin flame, because once the soul has awakened, it is forever awake, and you don't need another twin union. The purpose has already been fulfilled, and now it's up to you to evolve from this. And herein lies the choices of suffering and unconsciousness. Okay, those choices that we have to make and choosing a different path. Okay, this is typically why those who choose this twin flame experience happen to perceive this union at the dark night of the soul, as it typically will awaken you to this, okay? Or thrust you into it as much as possible. And it's usually at a much accelerated rate. This is ultimately to guide you back to the Trinity union within yourself through awakening your soul inside of your body. So the point is to awaken through them, awaken through the union, but to ultimately come back to the Trinity flame, okay? Within yourself, and get on mission for the greater good of humanity. When a torn twin finally heals from the separation of the twin experience, they then create heaven on earth, okay? It is a contained container. It is a spiritual container within fourth density that only twins create heaven on earth. Okay, that only twins exist within the 144,000. Transcending the twin experience is what prompts you to embody yourself as an angel, as a selfless supporter to the divine, to the collective, and to humanity, to aligning to service to others instead of service to self. So, this is not a pretty and pleasant process. Ascension never is, it never was, it never will be. It is about breaking you to the deepest levels of your spirit, to the dark night of the soul, where you will come into union with your twin. This is the story. This is how it goes, okay? Your twin comes to you to show you your weakness, your shadow, the reflection of your broken smoke, the cracks in your mirror, your codependency, your ego alternate identities, your inability to accept the higher concepts of love, compassion, and empathy. Your twin comes to define your humanism and your limitations, to prompt the fire of transcendence and resurrection of the phoenix. At this time on the planet, many believe that the twins are the 144,000. But this is also another spiritual program that is running within the Jehovah Anunnaki seals that acts as a container for spiritual development and DNA upgrades within the grid structures of your body, leading you to the fourth DNA strand activation and ultimately to the 48 genetic upgrades. This is an initiation that is very sacred. It's very important, and it is not to be devalued, because this is the flame of God that prompts you to the ultimate evolution, okay? But indeed, do not allow this to limit your consciousness to just this belief. Many soul twins are activated as the 144,000, and it is not just limited to the twin. Let me tell you, okay? There are many other different parallels and alternate realities of 144,000s in different genetic, of course, mutations, but different genetic and proteanic developments ultimately, okay, that are within that 144,000 expression. So whether you want to hear this or not, I hate to burst this bubble, and if you don't agree with me, then namaste, I still love you anyways, right? The twin experience is a program that can and will be transcended in this life. And it is a beautiful process of achieving this soul maturity. This is a process of walking as an ascended galactic on earth. One should ultimately be seeking union within the Trinity Flame. And this therefore calls in your highest destiny with another. So you can walk as sovereign God, Trinity Flames, in union. This is what anchors heaven on earth. Labeling the twin experience with every relationship you encounter should not be the focus and priority to achieve the highest outcome. And usually, if you do this repetitively, trying to define whether somebody is a twin, a false twin, a karmic partner, if you're obsessed with this, this usually sabotages your chances of achieving Trinity union within yourself and within the harmonization and convergences of those realities within the relationships that you are currently involved in, within those expectations, okay? Expect frustrations, expect insecurities, and how you will continuously devalue one another if you constantly try to label this, okay? The goal is never labeling the union as false, twin, or karmic partner, or soulmate, or divine companion. The focus should always be the Trinity within, and then experiencing that love of service to self, becoming the supporter, and then anchoring that in with another full Trinity flame, a full union. For every person you meet that comes into your alignment is a gift that is teaching, that is healing, and that is creating sacred space for you to grow in one another in one way or another. So Many at this time are ready to transcend their suffering of this twin flame obsession, the suffering of separation, of loneliness, of longing, of elastic cycles of reverberation of manic lows, because that is ultimately what the twin will provide you, is a elastic cycle of reverberation of manic lows, perceivingly connected to that twin union, okay? It catapults a wandering obsession through following twin flame readers on YouTube, taking every single word that they say about their twin destiny and constantly searching for these answers in these readers, and the same separation and same desperation that feeds an unhealthy pain body in the planet, okay? I hate to say it, but the twin collective is feeding unhealthy pain bodies in the planet. The cesspool of the unhealed collective are found in dating apps. They're found in dating websites, okay? The answers you seek are not there, and they won't be. Those are the unhealed collectives, okay? If you are trying to seek that, if you're trying to fulfill yourself through those outlets, through those options, you are basically saying that, yes, I want to still work through the planetary pain body, that I still have more shadow work to do in the unhealed cesspools, the unhealed collective, okay? Because the soul contracts for divine unions present to you organically. It is not something that you have to seek after or sought after. Even if it takes years, this should not be chased, okay? It's certainly not found and forced through obsession of finding a union, of finding a twin union, okay? Now, if you are a twin flame reader, I have love for you, because most of you are truly dedicated to bringing one back into union with Source Self. I've watched twin flame readers, and if they are a good twin flame reader, they are dedicated to getting you back into alignment with your Trinity Flame Union. If they are a true twin flame reader, okay, this will be their mission, to help you identify where you need to accept and realize your idealizations of false twins, twins, and karmic partners, and the self-psychotic degradation of delusions and the convergences of processes of love, and how this cannot actually and truly ever be contained or controlled. A true twin flame reader will guide you back to the Trinity Union every single time. That is what they should be doing. That's what most of the good ones are doing. So I commend you, twin flame readers. Many divine feminines are ready to release this, okay? This isn't for everybody. There are people in these different developmental phases of ascension that have got past the twin flame activation, and many divine feminines are ready to release this, okay? Somehow knowing deep inside somewhere that it is okay to let go of this idea, okay? This belief and this eternal aching. It is okay to surrender to the experience. It is okay to accept a new divine plan, a new design that may not be anything that what you thought it was, going against the mass hysteria of the twin flame collective obsession, okay? Even accepting that it was the twin reality that hosted your spirit for some time as a container for growth, in a grand design to awaken you to a destiny and ultimately redirect you back to the source self within. This process of rebirthing the Trinity Flame Union within. I can feel the sun on my back. Feels so good. The lake is calming down now, so my vibration just, it did too. Because we're rebirthing ourselves here as an embodied, universal, galactic being. And in order to achieve galactic consciousness and anchor this here, you will achieve the Trinity, okay? In truth, this is where the majority of the Twin Flame Collective is actually at in their realizations, okay? They are actually post-twin union. Many are just holding on to the illusion because they don't want to embrace change or the idea that there could actually be something more on the other side, okay? And this is why this collective is preyed upon through their suffering, for profits, for harvesting, okay? I'm sorry, but the deception in the twin union is feeding the phantom matrices, being sucked in and absorbed at the trifurcation of specific gates, okay? For notoriety, to limit beings into not seeking more within their own energy fields, within the collective pain bodies, okay? Feeding this phantom earth, limiting your ability to heal the planet, okay? There is an artificial intelligence and an ultra-terrestrial negative alien ET agenda that feeds on this collective planetary pain body of this collective suffering, of the twin flame harvesting, that distorts one's minds and beliefs, okay? To not believe that there is not something greater than a twin flame, okay? This is the polarization of the universal matrix and why we are stuck, okay? It's about coming back to Trinity. There does come a time in the twin flame path that you are ready to fully let go, because at the same point you will naturally become aware and be able to see beyond these limitations. And I know many of you are at that point, okay? Because the most unhealed portions of the planetary field begin to become visible as you embody the consciousness of humanity, as you embody the Trinity flame. You can see this unhealed planetary portion, okay? And it starts to become something that you're kind of just watching now. You're existing over it as a Kila, okay? As an avian mind, as the avian brain takes flight. You'll be able to see those blocked by this gene code as a distortion, as this unconscious barrier that is contributing to some of the prevention strategies of the higher genetic designs that keep people limited in their ascension capacities for global missions, okay? For global missions. Keep people trapped in these cycles of polarity that ultimately uphold, like I just said before, the polarity fields on the planet, okay? When in truth, guys, when in truth, 90% of twins are not actually together. And they can't actually be together because of the state of the world. The unified field operates off of a resonant frequency, and if that unified field is in disharmony, well then so will be the unions. The twin experiences and divine unions will not be allowed to unite because the pain of the collective and healing of the earth is too great. The unconsciousness must shift to take place first before the twin collective can have their cake and eat it too, so to speak. So the faster the broken collective heals from within, the faster the whole world may again be allowed to rejoice in passionate unions, okay? But until then, you may experience boomerang-like deflections of these unions, okay? Because it is in fifth dimensional frequency, not in harmonization to the truest healing of Gaia at this time, that the Trinity must be embodied to heal the earth, okay? This is why you will never actually see me talking about the twin experiences on my channel. You will never see me doing twin flame readings, and why you will never see me promoting this field, because it is not in alignment to the highest truth and outcome of the world, of the global perceptions of humanity, and where we must overcome. You think the 144,000 are going to be allowed to lustfully come into union when there are hundreds of thousands of children being trafficked on the planet and being harvested for adrenochrome? You really think that the unions of these lovers are what this love and this passion is what is going to uprise that hope for the innocent, for the destruction of evil? No, it is the Trinity flame that must be embodied to heal the world, and the world is aching. The world is in a state of starvation for this hope and this love, okay? And this is what 5D is anchoring here. That that the twin flame is honestly hosting a service to self mentality at this time, okay? So entering the Trinity flame within, deprogramming yourself and getting into mission, that is what this is ultimately about, is healing the organicness of your own matter density within. And as you do this, you heal the grid structures of the earth. And this is truly the most needed and the most greatest healing that you can achieve, that will ultimately bring you into the highest union, okay? The Trinity and the Trinity, the 369. This is a relationship that is hosted in 5D, okay? Twin flames are hosted in 4D, the astral 4D. You have to come into Trinity to be hosted in a relationship in 5D and above, okay? Otherwise you can't. You will not be free from 4D astral. Okay, guys, so I love you all so much, and I hope that this clarifies some things with you guys. And of course, we are all entitled to our own beliefs and opinions. If this doesn't resonate with you, well, I still love you. And if you're in the middle of a twin flame union and separation and healing from this, this is a very real experience, and I do not devalue your experience. I myself had a twin flame experience. It was my reality. I walked in it for many, many years. I suffered greatly from it for many, many years. This scar on my arm that goes all the way down my arm was self-inflicted from that twin flame union, from the desperation of pain, of the pain body that I suffered from that, okay? And you can look at this and say, oh, she's flawed, she's scarred, she's a self-mutilator, she's whatever, okay? I don't care. I tell you this because that is the depth that the twin flame takes you, to break you, to make you realize that there is more, okay? And that's all that I'm sharing with you. The twin flame experience should never ever be devalued, and I hope that you can see that I am not devaluing that by choosing to deprogram that within myself, and if others choose to deprogram it as well, okay? This is about achieving a consciousness that is beyond the 4D, okay? And ultimately will take you to the deepest level of your being. I am in no way taking this from you. So if you're going through the thick of this process of transcending this soul embodiment of the twin, okay, again, within this divine sacred process, this is the process of rebirthing. But if you are outside of this now, and you are still holding lack, it is time to deprogram. It is time to embody your true essence, your true 5D essence of the Trinity flame. So I hope that this helped some of you, any of you, at least provided some clarification on my last video. Please remember that was filmed 2 years ago, and that was a huge part of my own healing. And because of that healing, I do feel that I was gifted those golden wings. And if you've seen that, I'm just so happy to be able to share that with you. And I hope that this helped you to see something greater even beyond yourself today. And I hope that this gave you some peace in your cosmic mind, okay? So I love you all so much, and please feel these codes of the grand rising of this Syrian sun. And I love you all. Cosmic blessings, namaste. I will see you on the next video. Patreons, I'll be bringing forth a better twin flame collective deprogramming that you can utilize because the video that I made was personal to my own artistic creation. And once again, I'm going to keep dancing in my videos if I want to dance. It is a part of my liberation, my sovereignty, my freedom, and I do feel it is my God sovereign divine right to express my way in any way that I choose. And I hope that you can see that I don't do it distastefully. I'm not, I don't have my bosoms hanging out. I don't have my, I choose to do it and move tastefully. I hope you can see my spirituality and my sensuality and my sacredness. And once again, I love you all so much. Namaste. It's getting so windy. I love you all. Namaste.